Hello again, and welcome to another session. Families Training, will2play.com. Leaders of your focused training. See, it says so right there. So, we're here again. We're going to expand the opening a little bit longer because we are still waiting for some people to trickle in here. So, here we go. Where are you? Hopefully you're in the right classroom by now. We're more than halfway through the semester. Revit Families Training, the keys to Revit. Just give me a show of approval. How many of you feel like you, have sort of been given the keys to Revit now? Raise your hand. You're understanding more about the intricacies behind Revit? Nobody. Nobody feels like they understand Revit anymore now because they've taken these classes. Wow, that makes me sad. Raise your hand if you can hear me. Okay, there's one. So someone can hear me. He can hear me, he just doesn't feel like he's learned anything. I don't know. So, here we go. Connect at will2play.com. Here's your email address for general questions. About the class? Nope. About the site? Yes. I'm your host, Carl Gibson. You can reach me at kitecesure, architecture@gmail.com. I wish you could copy and paste that, but you can't. It should be up on the site somewhere. It's somewhere around there. If not, all these PowerPoints are available. You just download it. Look at that slide. There it is. And I've had several people email me asking questions about how do I do this, how do I do this, and it took longer than probably they would like, but I did eventually get around to most of them. Laura, I see you there. We're still working on your family, but I think we got most of the issues fixed, and there's probably more issues now that we've addressed the big one, but. We progressed, right? So, what are we here for today? Session 9, Sunshades. You might have gotten the PowerPoint from the website. You might want to look at it again. I just updated it. We have the session notes. It's basically a document format of the PowerPoint. And then we also have the PowerPoint itself. The biggest change that I made here is that I updated the topics to actually reflect what we're going to be talking about today, because it didn't say that before. So here's our agenda for today. Should look pretty familiar by now. Opening 5 minutes. We're going to try to take it a little bit past 5 minutes because we still have some people trickling in. And then we're going to launch into our 3 topics, 10 minutes each. In an effort to kind of tune that into 10 minutes, I might go through some things a little bit faster than normal today. Or at least I'm going to try. I try to be thorough, and I think that's what kills me on these 10-minute time slots. So I'm going to be a little less thorough and try to pick up the questions that people might have in the 5-minute session Q&A after each topic, or 5-minute topic Q&A after each topic. And then, for any unanswered questions that I didn't get to in the topic Q&As, we'll get to in the session Q&A, and then we'll close for 5 minutes, wrap up, make sure there are no other questions, concerns, comments, and make sure that I reiterate all the topics for today. And then we'll close with a really nice lab session today. We're going to take all the things that we've kind of looked at, especially in the last 2 or 3 classes with family nesting and some of the stuff we're looking at today, some of the new tools. And we're going to put those all together in a nice little arrayed, nested family for today. So, before I start, I'm going to ask, is there anyone that would like to speak during the sessions? I will unmute you, raise your hand, and we can go ahead and do that. If you want to be able to unmute yourself at any point and talk, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Otherwise, I'll have to unmute you later on. There's one. Oh, Haken, raise your hand again if you want to be unmuted there. Is it Hakan? Haken? I see Eddie. Let's see, Mark. And be sure that once I unmute you, you have a way to mute yourself once I unmute you so that we don't get any background noise there. It should be a green microphone on your GoToWebinar control panel. You just click that and you can mute yourself. And then, anytime you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself, just interrupt me, and we can chat. That's what makes it a live presentation. Otherwise, it's just me talking and something you can watch later on, right? Okay. Anyone else? Looks like I've got 3. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the opening here. As usual, we have a little story time at the beginning. So with the advent of this newfound thing that we call global warming, everyone's real big into green buildings, right? So everybody wants to do it. Even people that have no clue what it is. And so we have these things called sunshades, right? And you've probably seen them on a lot of buildings. Well, what we're going to do is what we want to do is we want to create a family that's going to make it easy to create multiple sizes of these sunshades so that you can automatically add and subtract the number of blades maybe in the sunshade. Something that will work well for calculations and sun studies. All right, so we want to be able to be sure that the shadows that the sunshade throws are accurate. Okay. Now, the problem, if you've loaded anything like this family into a project before, and you have many of them, the problem that you might see is that it tends to slow your project down. So what we're going to talk about today is how we can avoid the project slowing and still create a family that's going to accomplish all of these things and allow you to get your sun studies and calculations and things like that in. And one of the crucial things that plays a key in that is, oh so long ago when we talked about growing your family and keeping it simple, is that wonderful thing called placeholders and family swapping. Okay, so we're going to talk about that tool today and the concepts behind it and how you can flip 2D content to 3D content. And while we're not going to be able to demonstrate it, I'll try to go into demonstrating how exactly that works in the lecture here, and hopefully I can demonstrate it a little bit better in the lab, although we are quite crunched for time today, so because the lab is going to take longer than usual. I know everyone's thinking, well, you usually take longer than usual anyway, so it doesn't matter. Always learn something. So here's my purpose promise to you. The purpose of this class and my promise to you is that before the end of the class, you're going to understand parameter naming, swapping families in and out, in-place families, in-place families, that's a new one, detail components, right, and how they relate to family file size. We're going to talk about nested family parameters and how to control nested families. Remember last session we talked about nesting families. It's basically adding a component into your family. And how can we control those families with parameters? Laura got a kind of a sneak peek into this through the family that she was getting help with earlier this week. So she's already there on this one. She saw how that works. And then we're going to talk about a new tool called Swept Blends. It might not be new to you, but it's going to be new to the session. We're going to just go through the basic functions of how to use that tool. And then we're going to discuss more family planning, vertical families versus horizontal families, and how to be sure that your geometry is set up according to how the family is going to be used. So, with that in mind, let's get going. I've already given you in the previous sessions the basic and intermediate steps to create your family. So now we're going to start tying everything together with the boring stuff. Yes. Little thing we like to call theory crafting. What is it? It's basically philosophizing.